Hey everybody, and welcome back to Critical Crafting. This is Dylan, your crafting DM. I recently had the opportunity to go to Origins in Columbus, Ohio, and I had never been to a con before, so I really didn't have any idea what to expect.
I'm going on an adventure!
And I decided I thought it would be kind of cool to make a video both for crafters and people that might be new going to one of these cons or something about what this is all about. So at its core, Origins is a tabletop gaming convention. And what that means is that when you go there, there are tons of open gaming tables where you can just run around and play these different games, play test them, figure out how they work. They also have events that you can sign up for. The biggest book of events I have ever seen. You kind of need to plan ahead if you're going to go to any of these. But you do get like generic tokens and that you can get into different things. But you kind of want to reserve your spot ahead of time if you're going to do that. So you have the opportunity to test out all these different games. I got to test out Shadowrun and decided it was the most complicated D6 system I have ever played. And there's so much going on there. There's so many things that are being sold. There's so many things that are being demoed for the first time. Just walking around, there's cosplay everywhere. There are people who are just these small startup companies getting up, and selling their new stuff and trying to get their ideas out there, and it's so cool to see. And this is something where our community is so vibrant here. There's just so much. There's a mix of all these different things. And if you're looking for miniatures, or you're looking for scatter, or you're looking for terrain, or something that you want to buy, you better bring your piggy bank, because this thing was crazy. Every single place I went, I wanted to spend money, and it was everything from custom DM screens and huge metal dice and beautiful dice made out of bloodstone and amethyst and just these crazy materials. And it was a great experience to get to go. And on top of that, I got to meet some incredible people in the crafting community. I thought it was really interesting to try and interview and talk with these people and find out more about what they were doing and the things that they were kind of bringing into our community. And I wanted to share some of that with you guys.
I think 3D modeling has probably influenced my crafting. The 3D printer is just another tool in my toolbox. I can put little things that would take me a long time to craft over and over again. I can just chuck on my 3D printer and then go craft the rest of the dungeon or whatever else I'm working on. It's like just having another pair of hands helping me make the things that I need. Everything I do is Apple Barrel, Craft Smart, Americana, Folk Art. I mean, the cheapest acrylic bottles I can get is what I use. I don't paint that many miniatures right now. I have hundreds and thousands of miniatures that are unpainted, but I do paint all my terrain. It all starts from me just trying to fill my own collection. So I've been collecting and crafting stuff for a long time. So wherever I have holes of things that I know I need, but I don't have, now I can design them, because the chance is someone else also might need that terrain. This is a website, and we create digital files that people can download and then put on their 3D printers to create the terrain that we've designed. But we also put hundreds of files on Thingiverse that people can download and print for free.
Hey, my name's Brian Colin. I'm with Creature Curation, and I've created the world of Revelo, where creatures like this exist. All of these large creatures, these one-of-a-kind sculptures, are from my fantasy world. So, World of Revelo I created back in 2009, right before my son was born. My wife was pregnant with him at the time, and I knew that I wanted to create something that we could collaborate on together. And I created my first large sculpture. And since I had this background where I'd self-published comic books before, I wanted there to be story to the large creature that I had made. I named it Revelo after his middle name, Oliver, and Revelo is Oliver backwards. Like around the time he was 5, I drew the first map of Revelo. It was really terrible, but I'm not a cartographer at all. But so I was like, Wyatt, what do you want in this? And he's like, I want volcanoes. So we put in the fiery pits. And then I was like, what creatures live there? And he's like, I want a lizard man. So then I sculpted that, and that became what is now the Bernadazzi. He's added a lot of different things to the world. I usually start with a styrofoam base when I'm sculpting them, and then build up on top of them with Magic Sculpt, a 2-part air drying epoxy. Take the resin and the hardening agent and mix them together until they become one solid gray color. And once they are all unified, then you know that it's okay to go ahead and start laying it down on the piece. With Magic Sculpt, you've got to wear gloves because it has something in it that's definitely not great for you. My eyes start to swell up, and it's probably not a good thing to just use on bare hands. I keep a spray bottle handy, and I spray it down with water while I'm working and just smooth things out and run tools through it while the water's on it. Really easy to work with. This is my 3rd year, and when I was starting to do more and more sculptures and more conventions, I wanted to go to places where I would like to go to, and what's a better place than a gaming convention? Campaign setting, bestiary, GM screen, plastic pawns, beast deck of tarot card to help with showing creatures in gameplay. All of this is all set in the world of Revelo with at least 6 new playable races, new subclasses, and everything is revolved around the weird creatures that I've created. Well, with sculpting, anybody that's at home that's doing their own thing, just make sure you stick with it and keep doing it, because the people that succeed at it are the ones that don't give up. I mean, there's tons of people that sculpt way better than I do, but I've been persistent with it, and I keep doing it and keep going to shows, and you just have to put yourself out there.
I was actually honored to be our guest of honor this year. I'm a 2D, 3D art, I mean, you name it, I'm an artist of every trade. And I was very honored to be able to get to do the cover, which comes with the Artist Guest of Honor agreement. And this theme, I was told, was mythical this year. And so I was trying to do something a little more whimsical and more family-friendly, since Origins is a very nice family-friendly venue. Fantasy is my style. I love doing anything fantasy, especially dragons. Dragons are my forte. A lot of times there's just an idea, but that becomes a story. Like this dragon in particular, her name is Bandit for good reason. She's raided the birdcage next to her, and anybody has a pet knows the expression of, oh, you're home early. She actually has a welded metal armature. There's actually galvanized steel inside the wings, and it's all clay is done in epoxy sculpt, which is 2-part resin-based, self-curing clay. Just gotta just wait for it to cure and then keep going. You can add right onto it. It adheres to itself, and everything else. Fair warning, it will adhere to anything like it or not, including couches, cats, and carpeting. So beware where you work with it, because if it adheres to it, it will be there. I even just get a lot of my tools from like Hobby Lobby. You can get some nice plastic tools and by the clays. You can get some wooden and metal tools by the wood carving. So it's very easily accessible. Either follow me on Facebook under Lisa Sell Artist, so you can see where I'm at, so you can come and check out my booth and my work. I do have an Etsy page, but I do need to warn everybody, because since I'm the whole company, I have to go to all the shows, I have to market, I have to do all the art. I only have limited supplies, and so if you see something you like and I don't have it available on my page, doesn't mean it's gone forever. It's just I might be out of inventory or too low, so you're welcome to contact me and see if it's available. And I like to say you can't make good art if you're not around. This, you gotta be careful. Well, I don't want to scare them, but I want to scare them a little. Just make sure you know your materials and how hazardous it can be to you, because I actually hurt my health with the resin, and I will always love to warn people to make sure they don't do the same. Just be safe, but don't get too scared of it. You know, learn what you can do with it and how to be safe with it, and just make it the best you can. Just have fun with it, you do. And don't be afraid to do your own stuff, because you know it's easy enough to make something that already exists, but it's so much more fun and challenging to make something that hasn't existed that people love and enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I was into traditional crafting before. I followed you know, the masters of crafting initially, like DM Scotty got me into it. Blackmagic Craft, saw some of your videos too. Got into that kind of crafting just for creating really basic scenery and stuff. And then I'm a tinkerer by nature. Saw 3D printing as a amazing way to get my hands dirty in the technology. And then of course the logical jump to tabletop was there. And I personally like Army Painter, so I buy all their colored washes and some other and their generic line of paints for minis. But for terrain, I go to Walmart and buy the cheap $1 apple barrel. And I find that helps, particularly with 3D terrain, because sometimes you have a bad print, you get some layer lines, you know, and the thickness of the paint that normally a mini painter would complain about and tell you to thin your paint actually benefits some of the terrain stuff. The cool thing about 3D printed terrain that I personally suffer with a little bit from like traditionally crafted terrain, even when you do something in a foam and you Mod Podge it and you make it like as hard as you can, it still is prone to the elements a little bit. It's not the sturdiest that unless you really get a lot of Mod Podge and stuff. I was amazed at how durable 3D printed terrain was. You know, you print a couple pillars, you throw them across the room, they're fine. But 3D printing, you know, you're limited in the size to like the bed of the printer. You can print stuff and connect it, and like big tile systems and stuff. But I mean, I loved like making little stamps for like an ice field with a grid system, and stamped the pattern I had printed off a 3D printer. You know, that's a use case. There have been a few Kickstarters done by other guys that make rollers that you put on a wallpaper roller to do things. And anybody that's taken a knife or X-Acto and carved wood grain into a popsicle stick on a tiny little piece wishes they could have put it on a printer, walked away, came back, and it was done. A lot of stuff that you can buy from manufacturers, you can 3D print yourself for a fraction of the cost. I mean, everyone kind of balks at the initial cost of 3D printing because you're spending $200 to $300 to get that first printer, you know, get a couple rolls of filament, go through the learning curves. But when you think about what people pay for things like resin cast houses, for the cost of 2 houses, you can buy a printer and print 50 houses. After that initial cost, you save a lot of money. I'm sure everyone that has crafted for a long time has went through a similar experience. You know, initially I was like, I have to make terrain. If I'm going to do terrain, it's going to be all terrain. There's going to be, you know, foam floors and mountains and cliff sides. I'm going to make have every mini and everything. I'm starting to find ways to shortcut getting to the table while still having that third dimension. Doing quick half-height walls, but then a couple really big pieces of scatter on top of it. And I guess I encourage people to think, you know, if you want to do terrain and crafting and augment your game that way, there's various levels you can take it to. You don't have to assume you got to go crazy and it's tons of work. You can do just a little bit to spice up the table. You can't 3D print a beautiful underwater plant that you buy $1 on Amazon, you get 10 of them.
I think it's cool to see the 3D printing community and the crafting community kind of like blending together a little bit.
I feel like an old school crafter every time I have like a 3D print and I want to modify it, and you take like a lighter to it to heat it up, and then you like bend it, and I'm like, yes, manipulating it. You know, we love giving back to community, so check out Ikura and Thingiverse. OpenForge is a project I'm involved in too that has a bunch of free stuff, so just check that stuff out.
We make gaming gear primarily for RPGs. This is one of our more popular items, the Dragon Chief. So I have a fine arts background, used to be a professor. I would draw them. The other owner, Mike, would sculpt them digitally, and then we have 17 CNCs that cut them. This is our current biggest seller. These are our new Valhalla screens, which are GM screens. So 3 panels, they come magneted together, and they're amazing, and we can't keep them in stock. So everything's magneted in the back. There's 6 embedded magnets, pop on and off, and then 10 ball bearings, so you can put your charts on there, whatever you need to, NPC information. We'll try anything. We'll use any trans tint, any stains that we want to use just for theme, basically. Gaming is about theme, and people want to accessorize their character and make sure that they really delve into that world. But yeah, it's a lot of dragons, phoenixes, a lot of weapons, stuff like that. So we even make weapons.
Oh my gosh.
So this is actually the small hammer that we make.
The small hammer.
Yes, and we make one that's a little bit larger than this.
So I tried to decide by the end of being there for the 2 days what Origins was really about. Was it about the people who were coming in and trying to sell their new ideas? Was it about all the stuff that you could buy? Was it about all the games you could play? What was the most important thing here? And the most important thing, and the thing that I came away with, was how amazing it was to meet all of these different people who are all interested in the same things that I am and loved the same things that I do. Everyone that you walked up to, you could talk to them about your game, or you could talk to them about something that you'd seen at another booth, and everyone was excited. And that was just something that was so cool to me. So I'm so thankful for the new friends that I've met and the opportunity to get to meet up with some old friends there. And I think that at its core, Origins is about our community, our tabletop gaming community. And I think that is something that is incredibly cool. And if you get a chance next year, definitely try and get there.